In a striking demonstration of America's expanding military posture in the Western Hemisphere, paratroopers from the 4th Battalion, 319th Airborne Field Artillery Regiment, 4 to 319 amperes FAR, 173rd Airborne Brigade were recently observed conducting detailed pre-jump preparations in anticipation of rapid deployment to the Caribbean. The operation forms part of a broader campaign by the Pentagon to maintain a decisive strategic edge as tensions with Venezuela continue to mount. Inside a secured staging area, soldiers of the 173rd Airborne Brigade, a formation long recognized as one of the U.S. Army's premier crisis response units, meticulously rehearsed airborne procedures. Troopers ran through final equipment checks, adjusted parachute harnesses, synchronized jump sequences, and reviewed mission briefs under the supervision of jump masters. The emphasis was clear. Speed, precision, and discipline would be essential as the brigade prepared for insertion into a potential contested theater. For the 4 to 319 amperes FAR, this preparation is not routine training. The battalion's artillery mission brings with it a heavy responsibility, delivering precision fires in support of airborne and joint force maneuver elements. With the Caribbean as the designated theater, their role could include counter-battery missions, suppression of Venezuelan coastal defenses, and providing flexible firepower for any amphibious or airborne lodgements undertaken by U.S. forces. The deployment of an airborne artillery regiment signals more than simple deterrence. It demonstrates Washington's willingness to project lethal, mobile combat power directly into the region. The Caribbean theater, traditionally regarded as a U.S. sphere of influence, has become increasingly volatile as Venezuelan armed forces expand coastal defenses and deploy advanced surface-to-air missile systems with Russian and Iranian assistance. Military planners in U.S. Southern Command assess that a rapid airborne presence could be decisive in neutralizing Venezuelan anti-access divided by area denial, A2 divided by AD capabilities. With artillery support in place, American joint task forces would gain freedom of maneuver across littoral and inland objectives, ensuring control over strategic choke points and maritime approaches. Headquartered in Vicenza, Italy, the 173rd Airborne Brigade has historically been one of the U.S. Army's most forward-deployed and combat-tested units. Having seen extensive operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, the brigade has refined its reputation for rapid insertion and sustained operations under austere conditions. Its soldiers are trained to establish a foothold in contested terrain, providing both symbolic and tactical weight in high-stakes geopolitical confrontations. The participation of 4 to 319 amperes FAR adds a unique dimension. Unlike maneuver battalions, the artillery unit can extend the brigade's combat power by delivering timely and devastating indirect fire. Airborne artillery insertion, including the deployment of howitzers via parachute or airlift, remains one of the most complex yet decisive capabilities in U.S. Army doctrine. This development follows weeks of heightened U.S. Naval and Marine Corps activity along Venezuela's coastline, where amphibious landing exercises, maritime patrols, and freedom of navigation operations have put Caracas on high alert. The Maduro government has condemned Washington's moves as acts of aggression, while U.S. officials continue to frame the deployments as necessary deterrents against illicit trafficking networks and destabilizing regional activities. However, the visible presence of airborne artillery underscores the fact that these operations extend well beyond counter-narcotics missions. Instead, they align with a larger escalation pattern: amphibious task forces offshore, carrier-based aviation patrolling contested skies, and now U.S. Army airborne forces preparing for insertion into the Caribbean battle space. As the situation unfolds, the deployment of the 173rd Airborne Brigade's Artillery Battalion serves both as a warning and a signal. For Washington, it is a statement of capability and intent, the ability to deliver combat power anywhere in the hemisphere at short notice. For Caracas, it represents the prospect of a rapid, high-intensity clash should confrontation escalate into open hostilities. Military analysts caution that while full-scale invasion remains unlikely, the posture of airborne forces indicates a deliberate escalation ladder designed to pressure Venezuela politically, economically, and militarily. The 173rd's readiness posture ensures that, if ordered, the U.S. Army can strike swiftly, seizing the initiative in any emerging conflict scenario. Sustainment is critical for any rapid deployment force, and the 173rd Airborne Brigade is no exception. Alongside artillery batteries, forward support companies have been positioned to ensure uninterrupted delivery of ammunition, fuel, and communications equipment. U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster III and C-130 Hercules aircraft remain on standby at staging bases, prepared to insert men and materiel deep into contested zones. The logistics footprint reflects the Pentagon's long-term planning. This is not a token maneuver, but a deliberate contingency capability designed to maintain combat endurance should operations against Venezuela transition from deterrence to active engagement. Reports indicate that airborne preparations are closely synchronized with U.S. Marine Expeditionary Units currently operating in amphibious formations across the southern Caribbean. Naval strike groups, spearheaded by destroyers and littoral combat ships, provide maritime fire support and layered defense against Venezuelan naval patrols. Meanwhile, Air Force assets, including B-52 bombers, operating out of forward locations, stand ready to reinforce U.S. dominance in the skies. The 173rd Airborne Artillery fits seamlessly into this joint posture. If required, their rapid deployment could provide immediate fire support for marine landings or secure strategic airfields for follow-on forces. In scenarios where Venezuelan coastal defense systems threaten naval and aerial freedom of movement, airborne artillery firepower would become a decisive enabler. The Venezuelan Armed Forces FANB have not remained idle. Intelligence assessments suggest the movement of S-300 and Buck M2 air defense systems into coastal regions, bolstered by Russian advisors. Fast attack craft and missile-capable patrol boats have increased their presence around key maritime choke points, while Venezuelan Army mechanized brigades have been observed conducting live-fire exercises near potential amphibious landing sites. Caracas has also mobilized irregular militia units, raising the prospect of asymmetric resistance should U.S. airborne forces attempt to establish lodgments inland. These developments indicate that any confrontation would not be limited to conventional engagements, but could evolve into prolonged hybrid warfare in urban and jungle environments. Beyond tactical considerations, the presence of U.S. airborne artillery in the Caribbean carries a powerful psychological message. For the Venezuelan leadership, it is a direct signal that Washington retains the capability to strike at the heart of its defenses with speed and precision. For regional allies, it reassures them of U.S. commitment to maintaining order and deterring destabilization. In Washington, policymakers view this deployment as a calibrated escalation, short of direct hostilities, but unambiguous in demonstrating resolve. The mere readiness of a brigade-level airborne force introduces new political pressures on Caracas, tightening the strategic noose without yet pulling the trigger.